Hello everyone, welcome to another session with me. This is Sanyukta Saxena, and today we'll be furthering our journey on the Morphing Tangles, Morphing Tile series. Yes, we'll start with another new tile today. I am working on an apprentice size tile as far as this series is concerned. Make sure you are sitting comfortably with adequate lighting. 4 corner dots, join them to form a border. Relax yourself, take a few deep breaths before you start tangling. Yes. Now what I'm going to do is start with a small curve here. We'll see if we want to add something inside it also, but currently I'm going to start with, I'm going to keep it blank. Yes, I hope you can see clearly. Yes. And then I'm going to start with a tangle called DREAMCATCHER. Just a few of these. I'll just show you what I'm doing. I'm drawing some triangle, a zigzag like this, and I started with a curve. Yes, I started with a small curve, then I drew this zigzag. Then I'm going to add these squares just the way we do for DREAMCATCHER. Somewhat a cubine tangulation. I'm working with my micron 01 here. Yes, you can also work with your PN. So DREAMCATCHER is basically an extension of the Tangle cubine but arranged in a certain fashion, and this is the arrangement basically. Yes, now I'm going to draw these second layer of zigzag lines to complete my cubine. Yes, now this part entirely your wish, so probably we will add some inking with the highlight. Or you can add a moon pie or a simple crescent moon, whichever way you like it. Yes, that's a simple umble. You can always add a nice curl here with some auras. So you can add one more layer of DREAMCATCHER. So how do we do that? First add the smaller square of the cubine in these in between spaces. Yes, some bit visible here, not quite visible here, and then I'm again going to complete these squares with these zigzag lines like these. Join these just the way we do for cubine. Yes, now the second layer, instead of continuing with the same straight lines, I'm going to give a slight curve. Like this. Yes, and I'm going to, for the first layer, kind of continue with the square shape, but in the second layer reduce it to something even smaller or a different shape. I'm going to add an additional aura inside. This is basically the beginning of a tangle called CYME. So we change the shape, and now gradually I will move into a different kind of a shape. probably a little more round. Yes, and then go on to the next layer of my petal shapes. Take your time. Nice curvy shapes. Again, add an aura inside or outside, whichever way you like it. Nice and pointed shapes. Like this. Yes, now if you wish, you can add one more layer. So let's add one more. So I'm going to add another layer. CYME also has smaller petals in between. So let's do that here. I mean like these. Like these. So you can reduce the size of this droplet there. Add an additional aura. Yes. Add one here. Add one here. Yeah, so we have a couple of them now, and we gradually move on to our next. Yes. Before I draw the next, I'm just going to draw some reference lines, because I'm going to now move to the Tangle RATOON. So that's the first step. Go around, come back, and then connect it here. Something like this. Again, go around, start the other one, stop here, and then connect it here. Again, go around. Don't bother about the shape and size too much. We are drawing freehand here. Relax. So that's one layer of RATOON. A hidden one there. Yes, and probably we have some space for adding a second layer, so let's add somewhere in the center, in the same fashion, a second layer. These would not be visible, so just adding the lower portion. And that's it. The last one. Isn't it fun? Yes. So now let's work on our tangles. Cubine, we don't need to add anything. If you want, you can add fine lines inside your CYME like this. So it also gives the feel of a tangle called flukes. But these things are optional. You can also give a slight curve to the lines if you want. Yes. Adding a little weight here and there wherever I feel it's required. So done with the first layer. If you want, you can do the second layer also in the same fashion. But here we have curves instead of the cubes. So let's have some fun. Here we added flukes. Here we can go with BUNZO. Of course, it's your choice to ink or not to ink, or to ink only 1 or 2 layers. I'm just having some fun here, going with the shapes that we created. Yes. Take your time. Go to each. Yes. The smaller ones you can either leave it as such, or you can just add some rays. Some straight lines coming out of the center droplet. Something like this. Yes. Keep the lines close. So here probably we can ink 1 or 2 layers. So let's ink with a slight highlight so that it adds that drama to our tile. Yes. Like this. Yes. Take your time. Slowly do this exercise for all. Like this. Yes. So I'm going to slowly go to each and ink. We have not added anything here, so let's add the same thing, or you can add fine lines, whichever way you like it. I am going to be adding the same, which is BUNZO. Yes. So now we are done with 2-3 layers. Moving on now to our next layer, which is RATOON. Yes. Now it is up to you what you want to add inside. You can either just add simple lines like thick lines and thin lines. Yes, we can always do that. So I mean something like gorgeous. Thick lines and thin lines. Keeping it simple. Or you can add this to the first layer and then go add something else to the next layer. That's perfectly fine. So thick line, thin line, thick line, thin line. So the ratoons look like some sitting gorgeous, just that their heads are a bit curled up. Yes, adding a little more character to the lines. Yes, so that's how I'm going to do at least this layer. We shall see how do we want to proceed to the next layer. So starting with a thicker kind of a rice shape, thinner line, thicker line, giving a slight curve, thin line, thick line, thin line, thick line, thin line. Yes, so let's do the same on the other side. Like this. So I'm going to continue like this, complete these two also in the same fashion. So I'm done with this layer of ratoon. Moving on to the next layer, just add a 9 shape, a circle with some 9 shapes, the Wells grid. Yes, and then just connect these. A little different from what we do for wells, and then just add further auras and close the space. Something like this, a woven kind of a feel. Well, you can add anything else inside here. This is just a suggestion. Yes. Again, redoing lines wherever I feel like. I will do exactly the same. Start with an orb, draw the 9, 4 or 5, as many as you feel like. Draw the petal shape, but a little differently here. And then add the woven look. Bring in lines from both sides, just like you do for betweed. Take your time. Yes, let's do it here also. So I am done doing this exercise. The inside circle, it's a good idea to add a slight highlight and ink it. Now we are left with one, the highest one. So I'm just going to add knight's bridge there. Yes. So adding a grid, you can draw the grid whichever way you feel like. Kind of small squares. So just ink alternate spaces, just the way we do for knight's bridge. Start from anywhere, doesn't matter. Make sure all four corner squares of an empty square are filled up. If you are moving in a row or a column, ink the alternate squares just the way a checkerboard looks like. Yeah, I think we are done inking our last ratoon. Yes, so I'm going to add some bit of weight on one side of these rice shapes. A little bit of depth when we shade can be added. Maybe you can use a bolder nib since I'm almost redoing the lines everywhere. Now the in between empty spaces, it is entirely your choice. You can add any filler tangles such as stipples, such as PRINTEMPS, any filler tangle. Probably a texturing tangles would be nice because we want to highlight the center a transition. Yes, so probably very small or very big PRINTEMPS would be a good idea. So I'm going to add some really big ones. So the curls would be really too many. Something like this. So I find a reason to add my go-to tangle. Yes. So I'm not pushing the pen very hard, taking it easy and adding lots of layers to my PRINTEMPS. I'm keeping it a little lighter just by adding the wearing the print pressure. You can do that exercise. If you think it is going too much, then you can start one from the other side. So I'm not pressing the pen hard, and you can see the PRINTEMPS almost recede in the background. So this is one thing I'm still learning watching Maria's videos, how she creates different kind of lines just by varying pen pressure, how she adds weight just by varying pen pressure, and she need not go back and add weight. She does it in the first stroke itself, wherever she has to add weight. So you can do a lot just by varying pen pressure. So I am not pushing my pen hard so that my PRINTEMPS kind of recede in the background and look like the background tangle. Fine lines, many lines, many curls. Yes, So I'm just going to fill up the entire space like this. So we are done with our tangling. Let us now move on to shade our tile. Yes. So as far as my dream catcher is concerned, these two triangles which are empty, you can add a small fragment here. Like this. Yes. Now let's start to first shade our cubine. So I'm adding graphite to one side, almost coloring it gray. You can add it to two sides also and make one side darker than the other. Even that is an option when it comes to shading cubine. Moving on to the next layer, which is CYME. I'm going to add on one side of the center line and then blur it. This is again keeping the beginning darker and then pulling it away. Yes, as far as these uncolored bunzos are concerned, I'm going to add shadow on both sides and leave the center. These are just options. You can always add in the center and leave the rest, since lines seem to be going underneath, so I'm highlighting those overlaps. We can add one more line here. Yes, so we didn't have to make much of an effort to move from one to the other. Just change the shape a little bit and you are sorted. Yes, the bunzos again shading in the same fashion as I did in the previous layer. Take your time. Don't haste up when you're shading. Shading brings your tangles to life. Give it the time that it requires. Yes, then we come to next layer. So I'm going to add graphite here and at the ends here. Make sure you leave the center white. So blend, but don't blend too much. Yes, so I'm talking about this white. This should show. Yes, so let's do the same for all. Take your time, slowly go to each and shade in the same way. So coming to the next layer, I'm just going to add graphite inside. Something like this. Yes, as if there is a hollow. So I'm pressing my pencil hard, it's thick graphite. Keep the ends a little darker and pull the rest out. something like this. The third one in the same way. Yes, take your time. Yes, a little shadow here. Just a slight touch, not much. You want the whites also to be visible. Yes, and then the Knightsbridge again I'm going to darken, add graphite on the whites. Yeah, that's it. Yes, now if you want to close, you want to highlight the outside of the ratoons, you can do that by going around and adding that graphite. So the PRINTEMPS kind of recede more into the background. Yes, take your time, slowly add a graphite outline to your ratoons. And then just the very soft hand, pull it out. Not much, just giving a shadow impression. And that's it. I don't think we need to do anything else. Some bit of chalk here and there. Yes, you can highlight this part of the Knightsbridge, soften the chalk. You can highlight this part of the kind of gorgeous that we have drawn with the help of thick and thin lines. So just adding a highlight there and blending it. So it should not look patchy, should gel. Yes, there are already highlights on the BUNZO, but if you want to redo it, you can a little. It's not required here. The other side of these petals you can add some highlight. And that's it. I don't think we need to do anything else. A slight touch here. That's about it. We didn't blend here. If you want, you can give a very soft touch of graphite here. Maybe what is already there on your stump is sufficient for that. Yes, you want, you can add some highlight here. These are your choice. If you want, you can. And that's about it. We are done with our tile. Yes, let's close it here. I'm going to put in my chop, sitting somewhere cozily. Must sign and date your tile. Today I think is 10th. So I shall see you again with some more sessions on morphing tangles, morphing tiles. Till then, have a good time. Bye bye.